Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this week I'm delighted to be joined by Ian Conroy and Quinny. Ian Conroy and Quinny, welcome to Barra's Art and Design. We are here, in case you hadn't guessed, to talk about the Celtic jerseys. It's the first time we've ever done this. We're going to give you a verdict on each of them, and it's another release from ADIDAS. In fact, it's a number of releases. Ian, I'm going to come to you first. A lot of flack coming Celtic's way through the, I would say, regularity of the merchandise drops. Yeah. That's where we are, though, in the world of football, isn't it?
Well, it is. That's the partnership, you know, that we've sort of signed up to with ADIDAS, and I personally love the fact that we're with ADIDAS. The reach, like I live in New Zealand, if anyone didn't realise that, and kind of like you always see a Celtic jersey right out and about, also in sports shops, and you've got like the big teams, the Romas, you know, the Arsenals, the Man Uniteds, the Man Cities, and Celtic sit side by side with that out in New Zealand, you know, and it's not a very big football country, so that's kind of a good positive thing about the reach. But I suppose the downside is the fact that they're not cheap. That peer pressure for young families, you know, older families, doesn't matter what age they are. But I remember when I was a kid, I was saying to you earlier on, you know, we couldn't afford the kit every 2 years. I'd get it one season, maybe skip. That was back in the 80s. But so there's a lot of peer pressure that sort of parents are under, and I suppose the argument can be, you don't have to buy it. That's fair enough, you don't. But there's so many options and there's so many different opportunity for people to go and buy stuff. If your peer group are buying this and buying that and you can't keep up, I suppose that's the one downside. But again, and overall with ADIDAS, I'm chuffed. I'm an ADIDAS nut. I love ADIDAS. So yeah, I'm really sort of happy about it.
Let's start off then with ADIDAS, right? Because when I was doing the book, and we will refer to that, not to promote the book, but to look at jerseys from the past, etc. I used to ask the collectors, which shirt manufacturer would you like to go with? That's how long it took me to write that. We weren't even with ADIDAS when I started. And that was the answer. Everybody wanted to see Celtic with ADIDAS or ADIDAS. We had started off with Umbro, of course. We moved to Nike, we moved to New Balance, and this is our fourth kit manufacturer. Quinny, how well have they done, do you think, across the piece?
I've quite enjoyed all the ADIDAS kits. I remember growing up and getting Nike at first was like a big thing.
Yeah.
When I was a wee guy, because it was always Umbro, and like Umbro was fine for Celtic strips and whatever, but other gear besides that, it wasn't always that great. Whereas Nike and ADIDAS are obviously the top two ones. So I've been really happy with like the quality of the shirts and stuff like that. Maybe the kind of design variety or whatever has not been everyone's cup of tea for the most part. But I think that's one thing you do get with ADIDAS is like good gear as well. It's not just the shirt, but it's like the zippers and trackies and everything else that goes along with that as well. So yeah, I've really liked this stuff for the most part.
I always go back to the documentary Exit Through the Gift Shop, and that's where we are when it comes to big businesses, and football is big business.
Sure.
We were up there earlier on, Ian and I, up to the shop to purchase these jerseys, and the shop was busy. It's a random Thursday afternoon. There's not a game at Celtic Park this week. We're playing at Pittodrie on Sunday, and it was pretty busy. So they're doing something right. And when I go into the shop, Ian, I don't know about you, but I'm just looking at, well, there's a range. That's what it is. It's a range, right? I think the agitation comes when, you know, you're at the beginning of a season where you're being asked to renew your season ticket. The signings aren't coming in as quickly as we would like as supporters, yet there's a lot of emails and there's a lot of promos, a lot of push for new jerseys. I think it's a bit of a storm in that respect, but it's good to have the opportunity to choose. Now, I've got to say this for the audience. We didn't choose what we're wearing today.
No, we didn't.
That, didn't we? Now, Quinny, we'll come back to that. We're going to be giving you our verdict on the three Celtic jerseys, the home, the away, as modelled by Ian, the third jersey, as modelled by Quinny. He was delighted that this was bought in his size. And we're going to have a look at probably a controversial other kit, a leisure kit, of which there are many. And I'm going to ask before we get stuck into this, because jersey aficionados would be interested to hear, what was your first Celtic top? What was your first jersey? Can you remember it?
Of course I can, yeah. It was the 85, 86. The one that we won for the cup final, because the non-clear shirt, the replica shirt, sorry, the sponsor was on the green hoop.
That's right.
Whereas in the 85 final, it was on the white.
We were just looking at that, weren't we?
Just looking at it before, yeah, it just reminded me. So My gran and my Auntie Margaret, they sort of got me the full kit. I was 9 at the time, I think. A full kit, and also the trackie that came with it as well. You know, the zip up with the bar,
Yes.
and you could zip it up like that. Or you have to
Yeah, so it was dark green
Yeah.
with a white and black bar, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I wore it every day, every single day, and so much so that I had to basically wash it at night and dry it for me so I could wear it the next day. I was that obsessed because I lived in England as well. I grew up in England.
Yeah.
So, and it was in the Midlands, and I was Liverpool was with the team at the time, a big Villa area as well. So you'd have all these different teams, and I'd turn up in the hoops, and it was like there was a splash of colour in, this foreign land, and my heroes were all, the Danny McGrains and the Brian McClares. Chalky was my first hero, and that kit was kind of synonymous with him really, for me, the 86. So yeah, that was my first kit.
If your hero was Judas, would you have admitted that?
I would, of course I would have. We didn't know what was to come, did we? It was actually my wee brothers. He's 3.5 years younger than me, so I was Chalky and he was Judas.
He was Judas. The amount of Celtic fans out there who did go and get their hair tinted because of him,
Aye.
who probably don't admit that now. For me, when I'm talking Celtic jerseys, believe it or not, right, that was mine as well.
Yeah.
So my story is this: I'm a year or two younger than you, Ian. But there was a sports shop in Pennycook, and at that time, because of my dad's work, I was living in Midlothian, right? So Fife was born and bred, but moved to Midlothian for my dad's work. And there was a sports shop, independent sports shop. Can't remember the name of it, but if I dig out the 1988 school pantomime programme, they advertised in it. So I could get the name right. And the lassie went to her school. So it was her dad's sports shop, and they used to sell Celtic kits in wee boxes.
Yeah.
And it was like wee Umbro boxes, cardboard boxes,
Yeah.
with a wee window panel.
Yeah, remember them.
Nice.
And again, it was one of the ones where you would buy the whole kit in a box, and it was the same kit. So I had top, short. I was a full kit wanker
Yeah,
at that time. Memorably though, beyond that, because I remember buying that and going into the shop. This is another bizarre connection. I bought that, and my brother got the Liverpool one.
Right.
So up in Scotland, Liverpool, because of the Scottish players, there was a lot of support for Liverpool, I think.
Yeah.
So my brother wasn't a Liverpool fan, but I was buying a Celtic one. He took the Liverpool one, Crown paints. And I don't know if the ADIDAS ones were in wee boxes like the Umbro ones, but it was like Umbro replica kit.
Yeah.
And you bought the whole lot in a box. Can't remember the price, but a lot cheaper than the ones of today, let's just say. Yeah, and that was another thing. Up at the shop, you were offered the player spec. What's the story behind all that?
Well, I asked the lady that worked there, and she kindly sort of offered to it wasn't like a sales pitch, but she was giving us the sort of the rundown of why you pay the extra, what is it, £80 or something, £60. And it's essentially, there's more weight on these jerseys through the detail here, which I like, it's printed on, the badge is lighter and thinner in material, I think she said, and also sort of a thinner cut, so more than an athletic cut. So luckily I didn't go for that one, as you can see. But yeah, that's the kind of difference,
Yeah.
So, but again, it's all about performance, so it's the tiny margins, and yeah, that's what you get when you're with a sort of top manufacturer.
Absolutely. It's always been the way though. I remember the World Cup jerseys were different. If you're playing in a hot climate,
Yeah.
you would get the teabag jerseys. That's what we called them, but you couldn't buy them. Couldn't buy them on the shelf. But the jersey I remember, that was my first jersey, but the jersey I remember was a centenary top. And the reason for that was, strangely enough, my old man worked beside somebody who had a sports shop, or their wife ran a sports shop or whatever. And we got it a day before it was released. So it was the one with the wee clip, the granddad clip.
Yeah.
It was a furry badge. The replica jersey was a furry badge.
Yeah.
And we wore it, me and my brother got them, wore them to school. And we were the first to get the jerseys. And obviously the centenary year was a special season. First jersey year a wee bit younger, Quinny. This
Yeah.
is going to be interesting. Umbro era, or was it maybe Nike era?
No, my first shirt was Umbro, and it was bought for me. And my very first shirt ever was Bumblebee with the Canio 7 on the back. That was like a gift kind of thing, so that was good. The first one I remember buying in the shop was the following season, 97, 98. And I only remember it because I remember being in Clydebank, I'm pretty sure it was, and saying to the guy, like, you go up to the till, and it's like, oh, do you want a name and number on the back? And I was like, aye, blinker. And the guy had to talk my mum kind of off the ledge with it, and he's like, no, tell your son he's to get Larson 7 on it, basically. So I went in one, a Reggie Blinker top, and I walked out with a Henrik Larsson one, which obviously served me better.
Advice.
Good advice, you would say. So that's my first memory of like buying a shirt, but 100% definitely had a Bumblebee Decanio one from the year before. I
That
think.
is a good start.
I don't remember a kit before that, so I think that's the first one.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you ask somebody their first record that they bought, and you know, if you're going to be honest, sometimes it's embarrassing, but most people say, you know, it's something pretty obscure, or the Smiths, or Echo and the Bunnymen, the Cutter, and all this kind of stuff. But that is genuinely a great first kit to get, the Bumblebee, iconic.
Yeah.
Let's talk then about your expectations of Celtic jerseys, home jerseys. Might sound simple, but when I was writing that jersey book, I had to write 1,000 words on every jersey. And then once it was edited, it came down to either 300 or 500 words.
Yeah.
So back in the day where there was a minimal change, it was very difficult to write another 1,000 words on a jersey that looked pretty much the same, particularly with the home ones. But what is your expectation? As well as it being green and white hoops, obviously, what's your expectations, the do's, the don'ts of a Celtic home jersey, Ian?
For me, I'm kind of open to it. I don't mind. I know it's divided a lot of opinion. The kind of the jaggy
Snakeskin one?
snakeskin.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't in love with it, but I didn't mind it.
You wrote a blog on it.
I wrote a blog on it, yeah, and it was. I suppose it was more an ode to my children and kind of their view. I'm trying to get my children in New Zealand into Celtic.
Yeah.
You know, I've succeeded with one. The other one, yeah, we'll get there eventually. You know, but it was kind of that the reach of again, you know, it's kind of disturbing the norm, and you know, it's going to appeal to people that are just Celtic fans. It's become more of a fashion item, and it's for one season, you know. So you know, we've got the classics, which I love. You know, the 80s is my era, you know, and so we've got the classics. They'll always be there. So that kind of collaboration with ADIDAS, I'm sure they are going to change it up. I know Nike have done that with the Inter Milan kit. They did it with Barcelona, and controversial. I'm not sure if I'm going to go that far, but I'd just like to see it. You know, I think it's inevitable it's going to happen, right? So you know, again, let's get used to the fact it's for one season. We can be experimental, and if it appeals and brings other fans in that ordinarily wouldn't have looked at a Celtic jersey, I'm all for it.
I was talking about this on the show actually. It might have been with yourself, Quinny, and it was about, look, I'm 47 years of age. What I want from a Celtic jersey is different from a global audience and what they want. So they're not going to target it at me. They're going to target it at a wider audience. And often the people that buy them might not even be Celtic fans. So I was on holiday recently and I said this to my missus. I said, you know, we were sitting, it was on the last day where you've kind of got a wee bit of time to kill before you get picked up. And we were just kind of people watching, and there was loads and loads of groups of guys, right? They were all kind of clones. They all had the same hairdos, beards. The whole thing was a wee bit cringe, right? But listen, they were having a good time, and that's fine. But in terms of their clothing, what they were wearing, right, was either Hawaii kind of loud button-up short sleeves, or a loud football top. And there were loads of them. So back in the day, if you've seen somebody wearing a Wolves strip, you're thinking, oh, he's for Wolverhampton, obviously. That you know, globally isn't always the case now. It's all about the kind of fashionista version of football jerseys. And you see it all the time on the socials, don't you?
Yeah.
When a jersey's launched, you don't even know what team it is. Who was it? Venetia. They went through a period of just releasing brilliant tops. Kappa were very stylish when they got into the football game. Back in the 80s, it was Meba with Barcelona and Eri and all that with Napoli. But I think the customer base, if you like, when it has changed, and it's more of a fashion item as well as a kind of tribal item.
Yeah, I think with the hoops, it's a case of the detail on it as much as anything. I know, like, I'm very much one of those people that you've just described in some ways. Like, if you open up my wardrobe, I've got maybe about 4 or 5 Celtic tops I can think of off the top of my head, and I've probably got double that amount of random shirts from across. Like, I've got like a Jimi Hendrix Seattle top, which is like the psychedelic kind of Jimi Hendrix kind of pattern on it and stuff like that. And
Similar to this.
so it's not too far removed, really. It's a lot darker, but yeah, same kind of thing. And I've got some other ones which, you know, you just see them as nice tops. The Roma one, I think they'll probably sell more of them in Glasgow than Rome, you know, especially with signing Evan Ferguson, you know, maybe sell a bunch in Dublin as well. But I think, like, you're quite right. Like, I think the hoops is a wee bit different. I think it's more like second and third kits that you can kind of aim that kind of like funny pattern or special collab in with. But when it comes to like the hoops every year, when they're bringing the new issue, we don't like Ian's talking about like some of the changes they've made with Inter Milan and Barca over the years, and like some of their stuff like was not well received by fans at first. Some of the tops are quite nice if you're maybe not too attached to it. So maybe something to think about for the future. I think generally you're always just looking for, like, you're not expecting it to be groundbreaking. It's like details. It's like the little, like I remember one of the Nike years, I think it might have been the 125th anniversary year, and it was round the badge. It had like a gold circle with a wee star and dates on it. And it's those wee details on hoop on like the home shirts.
Signing sponsor.
Aye. You're always looking for that. Yeah, the wee sponsor as well.
Yeah.
It's details, I think, with the hoops. Like this one's quite cool with the wee tartan design and stuff like that on it. I like the one a few years ago because the Adidas lines were silver, and it kind of, I don't know if it really matched the green bars, but it felt like it kind of played into like a style or whatever. So I think, yeah, with hoops jerseys, it's generally like the wee details, how they put the badge or the stripes or some of the stitching or the printing or whatever. Because when you zoom out, they all kind of look the same, you know.
This is massive though, right? See, when you see a jersey and you see, and we'll get to launches. We had a very good launch recently with the jersey that you're wearing, Ian. We'll get to launches, but it's hard to judge, I think, until you see the players wearing it in a game. So we'll come back to your one, but until I seen us wearing that in the Al Ali game, I wasn't a massive fan of it.
Yeah.
And then I see it in action, and it does look better. I think that if you want to look at what the quintessential set of green and white hoops would be, it's Lisbon.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the commercialization, we know that's not possible, right? So that one recently that came out, where it was a whiteout badge, a whiteout Adidas, was the best Celtic jersey that never was, because it wasn't an official jersey. It wasn't registered for us to wear. But in terms of its selling, it sold out. Everybody I speak to just thinks that is the perfect Celtic top. Now, understand you can't get to that point because you need to have your manufacturer's logo, you need to have your sponsor, and you need to have a crest, right? So I get it, but for me, that would be the perfect jersey. And even if we were to wear that on one occasion as a commemorative nod to the Lisbon Lions and get special clearance from the SFA and the league and get the big green numbers on the shorts and just wear it once, it would be astonishing to see that in action. But my do's and don'ts with a Celtic home jersey, I'll give you some examples. So you go back to the People's Ford sponsor, where it was red, white and blue. For obvious reasons, that was a big no-no. And I write about that in the book, right? And it's just like anyone with a Celtic state of mind being presented with that idea would say no, right? For obvious reasons. Celtic said yes. And that's where we were, actually, in the food chain, Ian. And I remember it. And I remember the away jersey being quite wacky. It's now become quite iconic with the zigzag and all the rest of it. And I remember Bobby Murdoch in the back of probably Sunday Mail, and they put one of the jerseys on him, and he was disgusted with it. He was pointing at it as if to say, how dare you desecrate a Celtic jersey with this? Memories of that, Ian. Shocking, wasn't it?
Well, the shirt.
Red, white and blue on the Celtic hoops.
Well, again, I was in England, so kind of I suppose it was more of an orange. It didn't, I suppose, resonate with me maybe as much as it did up in Scotland. To be honest, my brother had the shirt. But looking back now, of course, it's a massive own goal. But again, you know, I think it's, I suppose, the way the board used to be, how regressive it was. You know, so yeah, a big boo boo.
I thought it was a big boo-boo. So that's a big no-no for me. I tried to get this as sponsorless. We'll come back to the fact I couldn't get it sponsorless and long sleeved at the same time from the main superstore up at Celtic Park. They will always look better sponsorless, especially with the big alphabet circle on it as well.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the hoops. So what you said there about the snakeskin, bizarrely enough, the biggest selling home jersey that Adidas have ever released for Celtic. Wow. So what do we know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I like to see clean hoops. Yeah. I don't mind the pinstripe, going back to the King the 80s top that we both owned. And I don't mind a bit of shading in there. So this one's obviously got the tartan. 6 hoops if possible, 6 green hoops if possible. Because again, when you look back at the Lisbon, they're not the thinnest, they're not the thickest. And remember the Chris Commons top, where it was the whiteout Tenants, where it was just like 9, and it was meant to be 9 in a row, so 9 hoops.
Yeah.
That looked amazing.
Yeah.
It's got to be white shorts for me. I know we've tried black from time to time, and you can actually buy the tartan ones up at the shop in green with white socks. Nice and simple. That would be my do's and don'ts. That's my expectations. Don't mess with it. There might be some nice neck detail or something like that. You know, maybe a quote on the inside. All these wee details, absolutely fine. But I'd love to see a set of green and white hoops with a trefoil instead of the Adidas equipment. It was just looking immense. Remember the old QPR jerseys for the 80s? Hoops,
Beautiful.
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
When it comes to Adidas then, let's talk about this top. Let's give you your verdict on this. What's your thoughts, Ian, first of all?
I like it.
It looks better long sleeves.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's not a great deal of difference from last season's. I don't think. I think it's the same kind of collar. Say, I'm not sure what the template's called, but it looks quite similar. Obviously, the darker. I thought it was actually black,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's a very
Dark green.
Dark green, yeah. I was just seeing off camera. I thought it reminded me a little bit of that New Balance shot that was with the one, the Grandad collar.
Yeah.
But up close, it's not as much like it. So I just thought that from afar. But yeah, I like it. It's a Celtic short. I'm going to like it no matter what. But yeah, we've had worse for sure.
Another thing I would say, you need your full colour badge
Yeah.
on the home jersey. I can see why they do this with the away jerseys to
I
fit
think
the
that
colour
would look
scheme.
better on like that.
It would look really good, but I like the full colour badge on the home jersey. When I'm looking at this, yeah, it would look better if the stripes went all the way down. Adidas don't do that anymore. With brand new jerseys, it's a vintage thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the look of this. I do. There's white panels under the arms, but you don't. That's another don't break the hoops.
Broken hoops.
Don't break the hoops. That's controversial. Quinny, what's your thoughts on the home jersey?
I like it. Yeah. Yeah, I think the tartan design's a good kind of change of pace. We've not really had any kind of tartan-y kind of thing in the hoops before. But the collar's cool. And yeah, I quite like the. I'm not really I like the idea of long sleeves tops, but I never really buy that many of them for some reason. But this looks quite good. Like you can see, the underarm is all that kind of air fit stuff.
Yep.
And yeah, it's good for. I think with a long sleeve top, you kind of want to be able to, Scotland weather. It's kind of one of those ones where, oh, do I wear a jumper or no? Maybe just put a long sleeve top on. You kind of want it for that a wee bit. So, it looks the part. I like it. I'm always a wee bit undecided whether to buy home tops. I've bought a few over the last maybe 5 or 6 years. Because like you're saying with the snakeskin one or the stained glass is I think the angle they were going for with that release is I'm always really happy to buy a top when there's some memories attached to it already. I'm kind of reluctant early season, down maybe not even down to price half the time, but just like, think about our biggest game of the season. We might be wearing the away top. We might be at home. We could be wearing the coleslaw, or so tops for me are a wee bit more like little time capsules, little things of like, oh, I was at that game or that guy scored the goal or whatever it might be. So but I think I probably will, and that was what I was going to say about the stained glass, the snakeskin one is I think it had some good memories in it. I think there's some good goals scored in it, and I think it kind of grew as the
Who do
season
you
went
think
on.
of? What player?
I think it's Tate a wee bit. I don't know if it's just something that's coming in my mind just now. If this is a kind of reflex thing or whatever. But yeah, I think Tate scored 1 or 2 good ones in it, and I see if I've kind of drawn a blank now. But yeah, no, I like it. Oh, it's definitely one I would go for.
You do associate a particular jersey with success, failure, or a player.
Totally.
And see, when I'm looking at this set of hoops as well, what I would say is the long sleeve. Back in the day, if you saw someone with a long sleeve jersey, you knew it wasn't a replica jersey. You knew it was it'd been worn in a match. Somehow they'd managed to get it from a player. You don't know what player because we never used to have the numbers on the back. So this for me is something that as a kid I would have loved long sleeves. Always loved long sleeve jerseys. But I was just saying to you guys earlier, we go up to the superstores today because we weren't sent these jerseys by Celtic or Adidas, by the way, maybe next year. And you go up and you view obviously the range, but you don't take your jersey to the counter. You just say, right, you want a large away without a sponsor. You ask for it and they've got it behind the counter. And that's fair enough. But you couldn't get this one without a sponsor. And you couldn't get you two guys ones with long sleeves. And we couldn't get this in the female spec. Now this is the main superstore at Celtic Park. You've got to be able to give everybody everything they want, right? So if you're going to be launching all this merch, you've got to go the full hog. So I wanted this without a sponsor. We could have got that with long sleeves, and this was meant for a female, and we couldn't get what we wanted. Which I just think in this day and age, you've got to get that side of it right. I'm looking at the home top then, gents. Your verdict, I want a ranking. Let's do it out of 10. We'll start with yourself, Ian. As far as green and white hoops go,
I'd say it's a solid 7.
solid 7.
Yeah, I was going to say 7 as well. Let's see how good we do this year. Might become an 8.
Absolutely, yeah, because you're right, the memories and you're attached to the jersey, good memories. I'm going to go 8. I mean, I've looked through every single set of hoops. They're all in the book. and I really do like this, and I like the tartan effect. We've tried tartan in the past quite a few times on jerseys. I remember the one that actually was worn on the day of the referendum, and we were playing in Europe away from home. Wakaso and Scott Brown scored, and it was the kind of tartan effect away one.
It's that kind of cross
Yeah.
tartan, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we had that. That was a kind of a nod to the old classic Celtic tartan range. You could get the bonnet, you could get the scarf and all that, remember? Or you could get married in it if you wanted to wear a kilt. But it has popped up on away jerseys from time to time. The best use of tartan for me on a football jersey was the Scotland top that we wore at Euro 96.
That was nice.
That was a really, because I think it's all about having colours that don't clash.
Yeah.
You know, Morton did one, and the sponsor was Buchanan Toffees, I think, and it was horrific. It was horrific. Maybe a match winner top, right? But that Scotland one was class. And I still think we could maybe do something in the future with an away jersey with the old Celtic tartan. So yeah, I'm going to give it an 8. The other thing about the stained glass window, we've only really homed in on that fairly recently, right? So here's the story. We did an interview, and it's on the channel, it's on YouTube. It was an audio only when we were doing them in Stirling, with Margot McQuaig, who used to work for Celtic TV. In fact, I think they were called Channel 67 back then, right? It was way back.
It was good then, though.
It was very good. The content was brilliant, Ian. Exactly, right? So they would make like small mini docs and all this kind of stuff. There was a great one about George Conley, for example, on the channel. Anyway, she tells us the story that obviously the stained glass window was not on the original entrance, but it was on the entrance prior to the 1987-88 fascia getting changed, the one that we now look at.
Yeah.
And people often wondered, what happened to that beautiful stained glass window that was above the green door? And there was a 95 on the wall for 95 Kerrydale Street. Nobody knew where it was. So they kind of thought somebody skipped that, and it basically disappeared.
Yeah.
They were doing a bit of work. They were doing a little bit of work, and they were looking for a storeroom, right? So somebody came in, and they're doing all the whatever they have to do to identify a wall that they can cut into. And when they cut into the wall, behind the wall, the stained glass window was just sitting there. It was sitting there. It would never, ever have been found if they weren't looking to create a storage space. So then they took it out and they've fitted it, obviously, at Celtic Park. So there you go. And we've used it now, a million times on merchandise and all the rest of it. So pretty positive reviews on the Celtic top. It gets a 7, and an 8. Moving on to the away jersey, Ian. Often what you'll find, and I refer to this all the time in the book, a manufacturer goes through the archive and tries to recreate. Now the hoops are the hoops, right?
Yeah.
But away jerseys, you've got a wee bit more kind of artistic license. This is a nod back to the past.
Yeah.
Again, the original jersey was the one that Henrik wore when he broke his leg.
Yeah.
Right, so not always great memories, but it's almost as if we've airbrushed that out with the launch of this jersey.
Yeah.
How good was the launch?
It was good. Yeah, it was really good. And you're interesting when you were saying before about a player association with that old jersey, the Umbro one that Henry broke his leg in. Mark Viduka springs to my mind with that shirt, you know. So, but yeah, it was a good launch. I quite like the kit. Actually, it's nicer on than it looked on the launch. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
What I loved about the launch is 8 years ago we set up a Celtic State of Mind, and people like yourself, Ian, were in the early days saying to me, this is what I'm all about. This is the kind of content I want, where, you know, you start speaking to musicians, or, you know, people who write movies, direct movies, people who write books. And from there, you realise that Celtic exists in all walks of life. And I think there was a real coming together in that video where you see the likes of Bobby Gillespie, Brooke Combe, Rhian Downey, and of course Henrik. And he's flanked by Charlie Mulgrew and John Collins. There's a moment where Bobby Gillespie passes Henrik the earphones, and I'm just thinking, is this AI? Is this happening here? So I think the club stepped into the realms of what the fans wanted with that launch, Quinny. It was the best video I can remember.
Yeah, it was brilliant, and quite much more what I've came to expect from seeing other kit launches at other clubs, predominantly in the kind of the bigger leagues around Europe and whatever. So it was good to see we're getting, you know, we got all this kind of ADIDAS elite club kind of chat over the last year or two. We see all the merch figures that they've had this year anyway, over the last couple of years. So you do wait for that kind of, like, it's about creating a bit of buzz, it's about creating a bit of hype. And you know, like, I forget about, it was Mark Viduka. Was part of a kit launch this year. May have been for Leeds.
Right.
you know.
right.
And I'm pretty sure it was, but in the course of that video, there's like 6 or 7 guys like that pop up in it.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that thinking, where the hell is everyone like that?
I know.
You know, like we'd never do stuff like that. We never get all, you know, buy-in from old players. There was another cracking one. I can't remember who it was now.
Was it Bohemians with Paul Weller? See that?
That I was not thinking of, but there was another one, and it was like an old player. Oh, I can't even remember who it was now, but it's like a retired player. Is it maybe Danny Lennon for
Wraith Rovers.
For Wraith
He
Rovers.
scored against Bayern Munich.
I
That's
thought-
what it was.
I thought, you know, that's a great model for the top. The top looks great, you know. You can tell he's like proud as punch doing it and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
The fans buy into it. There's a thing there to tap
Totally.
into. So when I seen that, I was like, yeah, love this. I'm all about it. And great launch for the kit.
That
Loved
was
it.
a brilliant launch. The one you're talking about, you're right, it's Danny Lennon, who scored against Bayern Munich away after they beat us in the League Cup final in '94. Wraith Rovers drew Bayern Munich. Danny Lennon scores a goal, puts them 1-0 up. And there's the famous picture of the scoreboard. Bayern Munich 0, Wraith Rovers 1.
yeah.
So they have kind of recreated a Bayern Munich vibe on one of their jerseys, and they got Danny in. You're right, it's all about nostalgia.
Yeah.
And it's thinking like people of our age, that is going to target us.
Yeah.
And then obviously we'll be inclined to buy it for our kids. So I think it's tremendous. What's your expectations of an away jersey? Because again, if you look through the archive, my favourite Celtic away jerseys are all yellow.
Yeah.
Again, it's maybe through a kind of nostalgic haze. But if I was to go for what next, it would be black. It would be a mainly black jersey, Ian. What do you think for an away jersey? Or should it be as restrictive as that?
Well, I mean, look at Venice, artistic license. I remember in the 80s, especially, you'd have one template and you'd have, especially Adidas did this, you'd have the same template in different colours.
Yeah.
We did it with the Umbro, was it 82, 83? And
It worked brilliantly.
What a trio that
yeah.
was. It was like, you know, with the
Pinstripes.
pinstripes, yeah, and with dark grey, sort of forest cream, with the white pinstripes, and then the reverse of that. Tommy Burns swings to mind in the white one, and Charlie Nicholas in the green one for me.
Yeah.
But the simple V-neck, and just classic lines, that's kind of a love for me. My favourite one is the 87 V-neck one that went into the centenary season. The 86, I think it was actually, and it moved into the 87 season, so an 88 season. But yeah, simple, clean lines is kind of an expectation for me. But obviously, in the modern times, it's moving further and further away from that.
This is why I know you're an aficionado. We were looking through this book beforehand, right? And we got to that jersey you're talking about. You'll remember McAvenny scoring in it, for example. But obviously it was worn before then. And you said, oh, that I think that one's mine. That was my jerseys, because you used to collect football match-worn jerseys.
I did.
And you said, no, mine's didn't have Umbro under it. So there was 2 variations.
Yeah.
But only the proper aficionados, the anoraks would know that. And then there was an image of the other one in there as it happens. What about yourself, Quinny? Do you think it's as restrictive as yellow or black, or do you think anything goes?
I liked a lot of the yellow ones over the years. I think there was a big, again, I'm thinking about Viduka, again, well, a gold one quite early on, like maybe 2000s, 2001s or something. We also had a lot of Swedish players as well over the years, so there's always been this kind of like gold, yellow, kind of alternate strip, second strip kind of thing. And I agree with you on the black one as well. One springs to mind, I think it might have been around Wanyama and Joe Ledley kind of time, where it's all black. And it's got like, again, I've mentioned circles round badge earlier, but it's got like a silver kind of thing around, might even be the same season I'm thinking
That
about.
was 125. That was 100.
Oh, was that the same one? There you go. There you-
Was that kind of hoops? Was it kind of like
Blacked out.
Yeah.
Black and black, yeah.
So the same kind of thing you've just said, in fact, as well.
When you had the tricolours, you could turn the
Uh-huh.
sleeves up, and it was the tricolour underneath.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful
Yeah,
detail.
because the tracky top had the tricolour in it. Neil Lennon. Yeah.
Then I liked
under
it.
the collar.
Put it down now.
Yeah.
That was one of the best seasons ever in terms of
Kits.
home, away, third kit, because the white one was the third kit with the stripy
with
socks.
the
mate.
big crucifix. Yeah.
Beautiful set of kits. I don't think we've quite matched it this season, right? Because we've not got to Quinny just yet. But yeah, when I look at that, the other thing I would say, and I brought this up a few times, I think you mentioned a blackout kit. A blackout kit could also have different designs. I'm not a big fan of the one they're selling up at the park now, actually.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, the
The
kind of.
1990s one, because it didn't exist.
Do they have a blackout and a whiteout of that?
Yeah.
I seen somebody wearing it at the weekend. I don't mind it. I normally don't mind buying like non-tops if they look cool, but I think the point of especially now that we're getting the third tops every season, one of them needs to be cool. Like one of them just needs to be like that. It's a banger of a top. That is like young kids. Like my first top I mentioned was a Bumblebee. Like there's only one reason my family bought that year, and it wasn't to get me to support Celtic more or anything like that. It was just like, oh, that's a cool top. The kid will love it.
Yeah.
You know, easy present, easy win kind of thing. And like I don't know if we're getting that this year, like you say, but I think for the away top, or at least one of the two alternate strips, one of them has to be good, has to be cool. You know, I think.
We mentioned the Henrik moment with that leg break, horrendous, right? I met up recently for a potty tea with Brian Scott.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. I've always wanted to interview him for this channel, right? But he's quite a shy guy. You know, he just does his thing. Even though when you look through that era of success, he's always there.
Yeah.
Always there. And you look at some of the guys he had to deal with, like really serious injuries, like you think even further back to Stevie Murray in the 80s, midfield player, done his knee in a reserve game. It's the coming back for these players. Mark Reaper with his injuries, Morton Vikhorst with his illness. You've got Darren Jackson with his illness. And of course, the Brian Scott moment is when Henrik breaks his leg.
Yeah.
And Brian Scott's down there and he's crouched down and he's trying to comfort Henrik. I mean, his shin bone was virtually popping out the sock.
Yeah.
And what he told me about that, was that by the time the players got showered, right, and jumped on the plane, chartered plane, Henrik was already on the plane with a stookie on. He was already sitting there waiting to get back. He was already in his own mind recuperating from the broken leg. Unbelievable, isn't it? The players after the game get showered, whatever else, and then they make their way, they get their plane, and Henrik's already sitting there, as I say, right, day one of my recovery. And he came back stronger. The player I remember of the original one of these jerseys, Vidar Riseth.
Yeah.
Vidar, one of the guys who'll never be a great, but he done his bit.
I think he was all, I liked him. Aye, good player.
So the blackout kit, I think, and I've pitched this a few times, we should have a blackout kit every season. Yeah, you can tweak the design, make it a charity kit, and wear it every single time somebody from the Celtic family passes away. We've had a few recently, obviously with John Clark, talking about kits, the kit man, and the Lisbon Lion, obviously, and John Fallon. So instead of the black armbands, wear the kit. Home, away, Europe, doesn't matter, wear that. That's your mark of respect, right? I think that's an Italian vibe, isn't it? They wear the black tie for a year after the death of their family member.
What country is it? Yeah. When the bride will dye the wedding dress black and wear it to the funeral if she loses her husband. I think it's Spanish or Italian. Yeah.
I think we need to do that.
Yeah.
We need to do it, and then even we could push it even further and say, you know what, a percentage of the sales goes to a former players association for the family members of people that are passing on. I think for me that's a win-win. You've got to go for that. So we're looking for verdicts for the away jersey. I'm going to ask you first, Quinny, because I can't wait for your view on the one you've got on. I'm getting the vibe you're not a fan, but what about the one Ian is sporting for us?
And Tracy passed. I'm wearing it. You know, it's just sharp.
You suit that.
Yeah.
You actually do. You suit that. Yep.
I like it a lot. I see, I grew up with the original one. Just when it came out, it was quite an early top for me. And one of the things about the old one as well is it's kind of like it had split Celtic badges across it as well,
It did.
like kind of faded out in a weird way.
You want a stato fact on that, Quinny?
Go for it.
Sorry, mate.
No, go for it.
Right. When you played in Europe, you could only have the badge once on the jersey. But because that was a detail, they had to make a specific European version of that jersey where it was just black and green. So the wee grey badges were removed.
Right.
Right. Again, aficionado. Check the book. It's in there. That's in there. But great detail. Great
I was
detail.
going to say, I like that better without it. It's just a bit cleaner. It's just a bit more, sharper, really, you know. And the wee collar's cool as well. I like it a lot. It's nice.
I loved how it looked when we wore it.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be moments because I don't know if we're going to run with this, but it was the big green numbers on the back as well to match the stripes on the sleeve.
That's cool.
It looked minted. It really, really looked good. So I'm going to give it a mark out of 10 for an away jersey. I'm going to give it a 7. Ian, what's your verdict?
I agree with you. I think it's a 7 as well. It's starting the old template. It was a Team Geist from
That's right.
2006.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I suppose, the most modern template they'd had for a long time then, and it's not been seen I don't think since actually. But so I quite like it. I like it better in the flesh, so to speak. I'd say it's as good as the home jersey. No better though, I wouldn't say.
The criticism I've seen, Quinny, is on the collar. where
Yeah.
you've got these wee bits that jut out. But since I've seen it worn by Ian and in the game, I don't have an issue with that. So for me, it gets really good pass marks. What about yourself, Quinny? Marks out of 10, mate?
If I had NTL on it, I'd give it a 7.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I like it enough. I'll probably give it a 7 anyway. It's nice. I like it. And I say when it comes to Celtic away tops, you do imagine like a kind of like this thing and that original one. It's kind of like the hoops, but redone in a way. You know, mix the colours up or do something a wee bit different with it. And you know, it's also like totally different to it. But you know, I like it. It's a good, it's solid away top.
So that's interesting though. So you've got a variation of the hoops on all three tops. I never thought about that. Pinstripes, this kind of faded effect, coleslaw he calls it, and the normal hoops with the tartan on it. So for the away jersey, Ian gives it a 7. I give it a 7.
7.
And Quinny gives it a 7. We're moving on to the third jersey. Quinny, you're going to have a lot to say about this. What I'm going to say is this. When it was released, I thought it was horrible.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought to myself, the thought or lack of that's gone into this jersey makes me think it's the worst Adidas release that we've had. Seeing it on you, mate, seeing it on in the shop and in the flesh, I'm not as leaning towards it being a shocker or a disaster. I'm now looking at it thinking maybe pass marks. They could have been a wee bit bolder with the colour of the badges. I think they kind of blend in a wee bit with the same with the stripes on the sleeves. But overall, as a third jersey that we don't generally wear that often, some third jerseys don't get an outing, Ian. I don't think it's as bad as I first thought. What's your take on it?
I agree. I don't think it doesn't look as bad as you would see it up close, you know. And you wear it well, mate. So congratulations. I'm glad you wore it, not me.
Can I just say Quinny's refused to take it? We're going to give this jersey away as a competition because Quinny doesn't want it, right?
But no, it looks nicer on. I've probably buy for my child, my son Seamus, when I take it back for him. So yeah, I'll do that. But in terms of how it looks, to take the food analogy further, you ever watch MasterChef when they do the invention test, and you've got clearly like accomplished chefs or home cooks, and they try and do too much, so they put too much on the same plate. It's a bit busy for me. So maybe less orange detail. Maybe it was a darker green or something run piping down there, and the orange just stayed in the collar. I don't know. I'm not a designer.
Less is more in this.
Yeah, but I think it's a
agree.
little bit busy, despite the fact, but it's a bit washed out as well. So it's kind of a bit there. So
Like a jammy top or a dish towel. I've heard all this. Just get rid of the wee hoops and see if it's a white top. I think it looks class.
Right. I think you know.
I think it looks class as a white top. It's never going to be my favourite. I know what ranking I'm going to give it, but it's never going to be my favourite. And I don't think it's yours either, Quinny. What's your take on it?
You know, it's comfy. It's a nice fit, you know. And I did say that when I put it on. Like, I actually quite like the neck. I'm quite a skinny guy, and sometimes necks can kind of just get all around you or whatever. So I actually quite like wearing it, to be honest with you. I'm very much in the same opinion as you guys as well, of the kind of the stripes or the kind of sound waves.
Yeah.
They don't really hit the mark for me. I like the big. I got the St. Patrick's Day kit a few years ago. I like these big clover badges. I really like them for away tops and stuff. I think they're really cool. I quite like the green on the Adidas and stuff. I don't mind the orange kind of pipe and stuff. Like you say, I think it's just these waves maybe just make it a wee bit too busy. I think Ian's kind of summed it up well, but it does fit really nice. It's a good shirt to wear in that regard. And I was a big fan of the shorts when it came out, so I'll probably buy the shorts if I don't see myself into the top itself. So I like the big clover lease, but that's alright. And as you say, third tops don't always get much of an outing, do they? So will many memories be made in this one?
My memory is not just yourself wearing it, but Yang sporting it with the ridiculous trousers that he was wearing.
Yes.
Oh, the big wide leg ones.
Terrible, terrible. But on your point about the badge, the crest, I look at the Celtic crest, it's a bit sacred to me.
Yeah.
It's like, don't mess with the crest. I know there's been a bit of an update on the official crest this season, very subtle, where they've added there's more colour in it, isn't there? But what you're saying, Quinny, I agree with you. See, when you take that 4-leaf clover out of the main crest and you use it, and it works oversized like this, and on some of the old polo shirts like Beram Kyle in the Nike days with a big 4-leaf clover, it looks brilliant. And it looks really cool, small. So you could stick that on a golf range or a polo shirt and it would look really smart. What's your take on the badge? Leave it? Is it sacrilege to change it like that?
Yeah, I don't particularly like it, and it's a bit big, and bold. I think the badge should be, yeah, as is normal. Without that, once or twice, but they seem to be running with it, Adidas, and I get what you say, and it's probably my age, but I'm more into tradition, so I think that would be, yeah, the normal badge on the shirts, all shirts is what I want.
And I've just noticed, genuinely just noticed, there's no, what I like to call the Lisbon star. It's not on it. Now that should be above the crest.
Yeah.
We've always got to remember what we did in Lisbon, and it's not there.
One thing I want to, I suppose, mention that we're talking about it, is an elite team, I thought we were supposed to get the trefoil on the third kit, but we didn't get it. I know Newcastle got it. They're supposed to be the same level as us. Like, is it a local elite team rather than a global elite team? Whatever that means. But yeah, so disappointing that we didn't get the trefoil, or maybe there's another one to come.
Well, again, will it appear on this kind of March release that we tend to get? That's going to lead us on to this top here. But before we get onto this top, I need to know your ranking. I'll start with you, Ian. You're last, Connie. I'm going to start with you, Ian. What do you make of this as a third jersey?
All in all, it's not as bad. Honestly, it's not as bad, and you do wear it well, mate. And I can see people wearing it on holiday. I can see like children wearing it, and kind of the youth wearing it. So I'm actually going to give it a 7.
A 7?
Yeah. But for that reason, I just think I probably sound like a dinosaur by sort of saying, I know it's terrible. It's not terrible, and the Adidas badge, it always looks class, So yeah, I think it's a 7. So it's a 7 across the board for me.
Well modelled by Quinny. Rather see you in it than Yang. I think that those groups of guys that I saw with their wee satchels over their neck on holiday would probably love this kind of thing, right? Short sleeve, kind of summery vibe. But it's a wee bit busy. I can't take it to the 7 because I'm looking at the one you've got on, Ian, and I prefer yours to Quinny's. Gets a 6 every day for me, right? So not horrific. There's been a few shockers. I wouldn't put it in the shocker category. I did initially, but I've kind of grown to like it a wee bit more. Quinny, does it get as high as a 6 for you, mate?
I was going to stick on a 5. Like, I wasn't a fan of it when it came out. I've seen people kicking about with it. I don't think it really looks, like, it does look totally different in person on the pictures just because of the actual shade of so much of it. I don't think it photographs particularly well, and you do need to see it in person. But I was going to give it a much lower score when I got here today, but it is a good fit. Like, it's a good.
You thought I had totally wound you up today. Eh? Come out, Quinny, it'll be great. It's a kit launch. It's our first time we've done it, and I give you this.
So I'll go with a 5. It is a good fitting top, and I've bought some tops before, and I'm not happy with a collar or something, because you want to be comfy wearing it as well. Very, very rarely will I be playing football in the top nowadays. So it's more for casual wear, go to games, hanging out here, that kind of thing. So it is a good fit, it is comfy. So it gets to the 5 mark for me.
Gets to the 5. So the third kit, Ian, you give it a 7.
Yeah.
I give it a 6. Quinny gives it a 5. Now, before we get on to all the other ranges, and we opened up talking about the multitude of choice you have up there at the superstore, I'm going to ask you personally about your favourite home and your favourite away. And I asked you before we came on, have a wee look through the jersey book and let me know. So Ian, I'm going to start with yourself. You can refer to the book there. You've got your bookmark in there. Let me know, what was your favourite, because obviously that might give the audience an idea of your expectations of a Celtic jersey. You're starting off with the Scottish Cup final, 85.
Yeah, it was that one. Obviously I had the replica, so the CR Smith was on the green hoop. So
It was furry as well, wasn't it?
It was. So obviously short sleeves as well.
Can we blur out that picture of Judas?
Look, he wore it well when he was before he turned. As I say, it was my first Celtic kit. An era that I loved. It was I suppose the year that I really got into Celtic. Chalky, looked like a rock star. Played like a king. I was gutted when he went to Manchester United, but and he wore that kit really well. Obviously it was the page after, I suppose, that was more synonymous with him. But the hoops, I don't know if the hoops are the same thickness there, are they? Maybe it's just the way the sponsor is, but so yeah, that's my
So here's your geeky bit.
favourite.
Your geeky bit. The jersey we wore in the Scottish Cup final, we never ever wore it again. It was more or less replaced with this. So you had a big panel, a huge big sponsor on the front. And what about an away jersey then? You've already spoken about it, but talk us through this one. So this is the one, again, just ignore the person on the left-hand side. Peter Grant's all right.
It looks
The
like
other
a
guy,
Mojo fan.
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Did you used to have a wee tint in your hair?
A
bit of peroxide?
I possibly could have, yeah, but I can't possibly confirm. So that, I mean, that again, I remember because we used to come up to Scotland for all the holidays, you know, sort of summer and Christmas and things. So you see everyone out playing in the different kits. I never actually had this kit, but I always loved it. But the detail, you know, the diamond, the alternate kind of the shiny and the matte effect. It just worked perfectly. And my Uncle James took me to see a game at Love Street. It's I think it was April '87, 3-1. Chalky scored 2 goals in that game, and they wore that kit, and I loved it. You know, the shorts looked great as well. You know, it was during the great nylon depression of the '80s, where shorts were short. You know, but it was a class kit, simple in its design, but just my favourite.
Beautiful, beautiful, Ian. Thank you very much. What about yourself, Quinny? Talk us through your homes and aways. Let's refer to them. You got the pages saved?
I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's stuff I've kind of mentioned anyway, like first homes and stuff like that. Or yeah, oh no, maybe not. So I think you'd asked us to do something like favourite kits or something, wasn't it? Or ones you kind of remember. So this was the first one, the Seville kit. Obviously,
Nice.
It's just a thing, isn't it? I remember I went to every home game in the run, except for Liverpool at home. I managed to get tickets for the rest of them, which was great. So it's just close your eyes and think of the hoops. Like that's kind of what comes to my mind for the most part.
Good point.
The white shoulders, like I don't know if it's something that's often really done too much. So, just seeing that now, it's just kind of jumped out at me a wee bit. But that's like for me, like childhood Celtic, front to back, you know, dominant in Europe, could beat anyone on our day, you know, and had world-class players in different positions at different times. So that was the first one that jumped to mind for me. And I think
And how big is Didier Agat's signature?
for me,
Honestly, look at that.
Jack.
Unbelievable. But what I would say though, right, is again, going back to that Scottish Cup jersey you spoke about, we only ever wore that particular jersey with that sponsor once. And then by the time the new season started, we had changed to Carling. So it was only ever worn in one game, and it was in the UEFA Cup final. What other jersey did you select out of there, Connie?
I don't think they were too far removed from that time. So
nice.
So getting into Nike, I remember, I think that's probably why it was in my mind from earlier on. But yeah, the gold circle around the badge, the 125-year anniversary, that'll be the Tony Watt. No, that's not. That's an anniversary for Lisbon Lions, isn't it? That one. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So yeah, I really liked that one when it came out. That felt like a real Champions League top. Like I remember, like Nakamura scoring against Man United and that kind of stuff around that time, and it felt like, you know, we weren't, you know, like at the beginning of the millennium when we had Martin O'Neill and stuff like that, like it was Juve and it was AC Milan and it was Barca and all this kind of stuff. But around that time, we weren't like super dominant or anything like that, or had a great team necessarily, but Scott McDonald could score a goal and put you through in a game, you know, and Yuri Yarasek could pop up and do something, and McManus and Caldwell and Adam Matthews, Joel Knight. There was just players, like good guys in the team. And as I said before, like Nike, getting a Nike kit when I was a wee guy was quite cool, going from Umbro to Nike. So that was one that really stands out for me in my memories.
Gentlemen, let's bring this exhibit to the discussion. Now, this for me was quite controversial when I saw it being launched. And this is a leisure top. It's a warm-up top. I haven't actually seen us wearing it. Did we wear it against St Mirren, or was it underneath bibs? I don't know. Yeah. But it was well launched, not quite as well as the one you're wearing, Ian. But it was launched probably with the market in mind as well. And for me, you know, actually seeing it in the flesh, it was requested that I bought this today for someone else, another Celtic fan. And when I see it in the flesh, I like it. It's not aimed at me.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't a kind of jersey that's aimed at a 47-year-old man. But I can see that being a huge seller globally. And I think we need to just get to the point that this is normalised now, Ian.
Yep.
This kind of thing's maybe no for you and me, but I can see where they're going with it, and I actually quite like it.
Yeah, I can see the benefits of it. I wouldn't wear it myself, and you know, I'd probably get locked down Sucky Hall Street wearing that. So yeah, people can rest easy on that one. But I like it, and again, it's that kind of appeal that you can see that people who maybe don't even like Celtic will buy it, you know, and it is for a younger generation. But that reach of Adidas, you know, it might end up on the sale rack and it quite soon. I don't know, but I can equally see it sort of getting sold out and you know, sort of enduring. And I think we'll see more of these every year. You know, you see it with the likes of Arsenal and
Yeah.
United and stuff like that as well.
See, when I'm looking at this as well, Quinny, would you have preferred this as a third kit or the one you've got on?
I would have taken that as a third kit. Like, I actually think that's like, if I've got like 150 quid to spend on merch for Celtic every season or every season and a half or whatever, I'm going to spend the majority of that on stuff I can wear most days, like a zipper or a tracky top or a pair of joggies or the trainers I got this year. And I think, like, I know it's clearly Celtic gear, but you know, I can see myself putting that on and jumping out the house, walk the dog, run to the shop, go and meet my pals down at the pub quickly or something. I don't know. I could see myself putting something like that on. I like buying a lot of like leisure wear stuff more than football tops, because I say if I buy any of these, I'm only wearing it to the park or a fan event or something like that. I'm not walking about the streets generally with Celtic football tops on. I don't play a lot of 5 or 7s nowadays, so I'm not like putting some sweat into them, as it were. So I like this. I don't know if I'll actually buy it or whatever. I would prefer it as a third top. I think it'd look better as a football top than a training top. But yeah, I would say if I had that kind of budget, I'm going to spend more of it on stuff rather than tops. I'll buy a top probably, and then you get a wee zipper and some other bits and bobs. So I like it. And I say I don't know if it's quite one I would buy, but it's not because I don't like it. It's just, you know, whether I see myself wearing it or not.
One point I would make is people who are looking at this going, why are you talking about Celtic jerseys for an hour? For me, the importance of the Celtic jersey is the minute it's been worn in a game, it's part of our history.
Absolutely.
It is, you know, it's a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
It can bring you back to brilliant successes or absolutely disappointing matches. Like, you know, the 3 ADIDAS strips in the COVID season were brilliant, but I don't look back fondly on them because of the season that we endured.
Yep.
So Celtic jerseys are important, and I think that the kit manufacturer needs to realise that as well. They're kind of sacred.
Yeah.
They're part of our history, and we will celebrate them. This time next year, who knows, we might do this from the headquarters in Germany of ADIDAS. But thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining us and giving us your ranking on the Celtic jerseys.
Pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for joining us once again on A Celtic State of Mind. Join us next Friday at 6 o'clock for This is Acsom.